Music. Not just any music, Playboi Carti actually invented music. An album that has been in the works for years, leaving Carti fans hungry and fiending for new music from him ever since 2020's Whole Lotta Red. But in 2024, we actually witnessed something special. Right away, Carti started teasing the new songs on Instagram, YouTube, and the hype was at an all-time high. Therefore, I feel like March 14th is the last possible date that he could drop this thing. He has already shipped out the merch bundles and is scheduled to perform at Rolling Loud the following weekend. There's gonna be mass mayhem among his fan base if he fails to deliver, and even then, the album dropped like 5 or 6 hours after midnight just so that his fans could crash out for one last time. Given how messy the rollout has been and how it felt like Carti was scrambling to put the songs together in last second, I had no reason to believe that this thing was gonna be anything more than a rushed product. But he pulled it through, and let me just tell you this. Music doesn't feel like an album, but a playlist. A compilation of tracks like a mixtape, you will. You could rearrange the track list in whatever order, and the album is still gonna flow relatively the same. You're getting the most diverse vocal performance from Carti, such as baby voice, deep voice. The only Carti you're not gonna get is the English version. Somehow music makes Whole Lotta Red seem concise, and I just can't fathom how chaotic his next album is gonna be if we even get another album from the man after all. With that being said, I think Pop Out is the best song on the album. Not only does this track serve as a jump scare for first time listeners, but this short but electrifying song has the perfect balance between having too little distortion and too much distortion. Carti's turn throughout the song, he's truly the life of the party here. Yeah, his lyrics are nothing special, but with a song like this, it's more about enjoying the experience. This is basically Ken Carson's Lose It if it was actually good. It has way more energy to it, and this beat, while most people see it as a distorted mess, I actually find rather charming. I think the song will go insane at a concert. And then we get to Crush, which is one of the most disappointing songs on the album. I think Crush had so much untapped potential. The swirling synths and the hard-hitting bass sound was so intoxicating. It's the best beat on the album for me. But Carti fails to develop the song any further than what seems like an extended intro that overstays itself for too long. Travis's presence is barely felt, and the choir chants are straight up awful. They feel out of place and make this a skip for me. K-pop, formerly known as Ketamine, as well as Evil Jordan, take up tracks 3 and 4. I was never a big fan of Ketamine, and listening to K-pop kind of further solidified my mildness towards that record. Evil Jordan, while I still like it, I just find the whole atmospheric intro to be really unnecessary. I mean, it does build up to the song, but the transition is so abrupt that I just wish Carti didn't tamper with the song at all. At least they didn't ruin Hood by Air. Mostly. The snares are like whatever for me. MOJO JOJO was the first Kendrick Lamar appearance. Yes, he has 3 features. The man barely shows up on anybody's track nowadays, and you're telling me that Carti got this man to do 3 songs? And on this song in particular, he's just ad-libbing for the man, popping in and out with some goofy mad libs and just having fun in the back. That's a flex that Carti could forever tell his kids about, if he still even sees them. Look, I think all 3 Kendrick features are great, but can we talk about how weird narratively it is for him to be on the album? I mean, you've clearly stated your morals and labeled Drake as someone who is, and I quote, a fucking deadbeat that should never say more life, and yet you give Carti the green light to have you featured on the album? I mean, he called himself the biggest hypocrite of 2015, and 10 years later, he hasn't really changed much apparently. Even calling Carti his evil twin on good credit. By the way, good credit is solid, even if I think the gap between Carti's verse and Kendrick's verse is bigger than the track list itself. Decent instrumentals, good performance from both guys, I'm saving it to my rotation. The third one, Backdoor, is more melodic, more sensual about blowing a couple racks on a girl. Carti showed more variety than expected on this track, and it's nice to see a couple of standout songs in terms of style because this album does get quite repetitive, especially at the end. More on that later. Speaking of features, I think the Weeknd takes the cake as the best feature on the album besides Kendrick. When I first heard the song, I thought it was just the typical track about girls in general, but I kind of see it now as Carti saying that he'd rather lie to his fans than lose them entirely. Quite the juxtaposition there. I mean, I severely underestimated how loyal his fans will put up with his stupid behavior, whether it's lying about album release dates or watching a movie instead of doing a show because he doesn't feel like it on Fine Shit. Rather Lie has a nice chorus, which a lot of songs on this album lack and just become glorified freestyles, and yeah, it's another standout track for me. Speaking about Fine Shit, I actually enjoyed that song. Carti talks about how he has a bitch so bad she can't even go outside nor interact with others in general, with the wildest lyrics saying, "Don't say you'll die for me, little bitch, just die." Then Toxic, even though it doesn't hold a candle in comparison to Lean For Real, is one that I did not expect to like. I didn't have any problems with Skepta's verse, but something about Carti's vocals, as deep and goofy they sound, it kind of works for a hook. Like, bro managed to hit my G-spot in the weirdest way possible, but I kind of messed with it. Charge Them Hoes a Fee is another favorite of mine that objectively is the worst sounding song on the album because there's barely a Future verse. He's just repeatedly wanting to charge the hoes a fee, but Future's strong point has always been his ability to sound completely off his rockers and create this infectious trap vibe to it. And the beat from Wheezy on this thing is absolutely insane with the hard-hitting 808s. I wish I could say the same with Trim because Future slid there as well, but DJ Swamp Esco completely ruins the song for me. As when Carti delivers his mediocre verse, he kinda just acts like a hype man by shouting a bunch of aggressive ad-libs that just completely throw off the dynamic of the song. In fact, this is not the only time where DJ Swamp Esco acts like a nuisance, as I think he ruined Crank and Munyon as well. I don't want to hear a song where every 2 seconds he's just shouting the same thing in my ear. I'm not gonna put the sole blame on him as to why I don't like some of the tracks because I found Carti's performance to be equally as unappealing on songs like Cocaine Nose and Overly. Cocaine Nose is Carti rapping in the nasally voice and sounding like a villain from a bad cartoon show, and the latter is just Carti being Future. This one got it? Yeah, more like this one got Future on it. It's the same thing as All Red. I'm not sure why he's trying to impersonate Future, whether intentionally or unintentionally. By the way, I'm so glad he's not constantly ripping off Pluto on this album because otherwise music would have been a much worse listen for me. But the goofiest vocals, hands down, has to go to Radar. The spooky lead pianos remind me of Vamp Anthem off A Whole Lotta Red, and Carti delivers the best Minecraft villager impression I've seen from any artist. But the song Opium Baby is even worse. Like, this is the most dog shit track Carti has ever released in his entire career. The track feels nauseating to listen to. At least Charge Them Hoes a Fee has a nice instrumental to go along with the druggy sound. This track literally does nothing right. The beat is just your generic rage beat being subdued to tons of distortion, but not only do you have Swamp Izzo popping in and out, but Carti starts moaning like a kid after getting grounded from their parents. And then there's a weird break in the song where somebody is firing 3 rounds of bullets in the studio. This song is Gen Alpha brain rot, and I'll die on this hill by defending that take. Second place has to go to Like Wheezy. Not only am I not liking the sample, Carti sounds purposefully obnoxious and in your face in an annoying way. I can't sit through this one either. Travis, for the most part, is just doing what he does best, checking the basic boxes for being a decent feature and pretty much just doing the bare minimum to get by. So I really have nothing to say about Philly nor Wake Me Up Filthy. I was ecstatic about Uzi being on the album because as someone that wanted 1629 so bad, as soon as I heard Uzi on Jumpin', I was ready for this to be a banger. He is the worst feature on the album. I mean, what even happens on this song? Same thing goes for Twin Trim. It's just the Uzi freestyle and that's it. Nothing else. In fact, I found the entirety of the latter half of the album outside of We Need All the Vibes, which has nice appearances from both Doug and Ty, as well as the previously mentioned Hood by Air, to be utterly forgettable. The album really starts losing steam after I See You Baby Boy, and if I had to fish out for a couple of compliments, I guess I like the beat on Olympian and Walk. So the big question is, was the 5-year wait worth it? And honestly, it's a yes and a no for me. Obviously, most people are expecting absolute peak music from Carti, and while he did continue to feed his fans with more rage music, I still think Music is Carti's weakest project and inferior to A Whole Lotta Red. But I really can't say I was disappointed by this because we should have known damn well that this album is gonna sound a lot like a compilation of tracks similar to songs that have been leaked in the past. I just didn't expect this album to sound this varied and this long. I had tons of fun on some parts of the album, with other parts leaving me very underwhelmed. Overall, I give this between a 5 to a 6.